Welcome to the Alamo Master Arborist channel. Today's video is a very interesting one. You'll hear a discussion, it's probably around 3 hours long, between two board-certified Master Arborists that are also registered consulting arborists. The gentleman I am talking to, his name is Matt Latham. He's located in Houston, Texas, while I'm located in San Antonio, Texas. We discuss an array of topics to put it in perspective, so you can better appreciate the conversation that we're having. There's about 55 board-certified Master Arborists in the state of Texas. There's about 15 registered consulting arborists. And you get to hear two of them discuss their experiences and overall interesting topics that are inside of arboriculture. We cover an array of issues such as utility, municipality specifications, innovative techniques for tree preservation, and tree installation. We talk about different disease and pests and overall plant health care, best practices, best management practices. We also get into innovative techniques for urban development, innovative techniques for preserving trees during cold winters. We also get into basically the future of arboriculture and the future of our areas, potential hazards for trees in the future, such as the emerald ash borer and the spread of oak wilt. It's a very interesting conversation for property owners and also anybody who's in the field of arboriculture. If you like this kind of content, feel free to subscribe. Hopefully you guys like the video. If you have any questions, put them in the chat and hopefully I'll respond to them. I've been really busy lately. This is one of the few videos I've been able to do. And if you guys really like the content, I'll try to make some more of these videos. Thank you.
I was going to ask you, have you done any interesting jobs this year?
Yeah, quite a few of them. And I think I might have talked to you a little bit about some of the work that I do. And obviously, we're both registered consulting arborists. We're both certified master arborists. We've been there, done that. And, you know, it's another day at the office. Like we've all read the literature and we've all done our research. And so one of my favorite things to do is expert witness work.
And yeah, that's awesome when I get a chance to do it. It's funny because arborists don't like to do it, and I'm like, I like feel right at home. I feel like I should have been in the courtroom.
Yeah, and here's my theory: is like us dudes, I think especially, are designed to go to war sometimes. You know, and fortunately, the courtroom is basically that. It's like the war room, except nobody dies. Everybody comes out alive. Maybe a little broker. Maybe a little richer.
Ego's bruised, right?
Yeah. We all come home to our families, and that's a beautiful thing in my book. And especially in a career as hazardous as we are, is it's nice to go out and like do crazy things, but also not have the risks associated with tree care. Because I've seen some things. I don't know about you, but I've had a couple scary incidents in my career. And
I do a lot more reports. And I've done a lot of insurance ones. I've done some expert witness ones, but not too often.
Yeah.
To me, it's like a delicacy when I'm like, oh, great. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. It comes through and you're like, well, and the pay is great, which is nice. But even more than that is really just the experience, because I love learning. And I'm sure, you know, most people listening to this also enjoy learning some things.
Learn something new.
The thing about when I do expert witness work is I'm forced to go out and learn everything there is to know about that particular subject, because if I don't, they're going to grill me and I'm going to fail and look like a complete moron.
Yeah, exactly. And you want to cover all ends before you even say anything, you know, that anything that's going to be tested basically, you know, or to the root of the issue, whatever it is you're talking about.
So like MSMA, I know more than I'd want to know. Ever in any other circumstance about MSMA and what it does to the plant, how it affects things, because of a case that we took that we're currently working. I can't go over details, of course, but we're currently working on that one.
It made me take and I've done appraisals before, but it made me, the one I did, it made me take like a crash course in appraisal and like justification for that appraisal. And then it made me like find like every step of the way I had to justify my pricing, legitimize my pricing for whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to force you.
they'll give you 1,000 questions about it. Like, well, what about this? And what about that? What about this? And that's actually a really interesting point. Let me grab the book real quick. Okay, so I'm not proud of this because I feel really guilty. But there's a handful of books that I use almost on a weekly basis. And one of them is the guide for tree and plant guide
Awesome.
for appraisal.
Yeah. Is that the 10th edition or 11th edition?
Edition revised. And I like this book so much that I took a knife and I sliced it up into little bits and put it up into these little little file folders, put it into
Oh, wow.
folder. Makes it so much easier to like take a piece out, copy it. I can hand it out to all the jury members or the opposing counsel or whatever I need to. Be prepared that way. So
yeah, I mean, I think when I did my formula, I printed it all out. I had like 4 or 5 copies. Everybody had one.
oh
And
yeah.
I had 3 lawyers there. It was the guy and then 2 of his lawyers. They're like, we're going to cross you on this real quick before you actually get
Uh-huh.
cross-examined on the stand. So they did it, and I was like, okay, this
That's
is how I
one-
got that. They're like, this is you're pretty good. You got it now. You got it. Okay, let's move on. But they were for like a whole hour, like 3 of them going back. It was
yeah.
You know,
Yeah, the most I've been cross-examined, deposition was for 7 hours once.
wow.
A lot. It is what it is. I brought a gallon water bottle and I just kept going to the bathroom so I could just catch up sometimes because man, that just got overwhelming mentally. And you don't want to like say too much, you don't want to say too little or the wrong thing and mess up the case, even though you may be in the right. And so it's really a different scenario and you got to be prepared.
No, definitely. No, some of the stuff I've done this year, just to bring it back, I've done some of the military bases. We did end of the year to this year, we did Fort Sam Cemetery,
Mm-hmm.
which is a military base. I did another proposal for them for the Air Force Base. They have like 70 plus trees they need to remove, something like that.
Wow.
Like I don't know if it's the drought. I haven't looked at the property. I'm supposed to go Monday, but I don't know if it's the drought, the record heat, the record drought the last 3 years, and then
It's been bad here in Houston too.
they're just horrendous. And I mean, those trees have been there. I mean, they're talking like 20-inch caliber trees, maybe a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
They've been there for like, I feel like tens of years, 20 years, but they're just going. Yes, baby. No, not right now, baby. I'll be there in a little bit. Yeah, but yeah, we did that, and then what else? I did the San Pedro Springs one. That was really one of my favorite ones. To tell you the truth, I probably underbid it. I probably should have double and I did it. It's kind of interesting because I did that because I cared so much about the property. Like I put like every reason why they should go with me because I'm from the area. I'm like one of the most qualified, and I actually care.
Credentially,
I actually care about the area more than like because my family's been there like 150 years. Like grew up a mile or 2 from that park, historically, and I was like, I don't think anyone's going to do as good a job or want to do as good a job as I would do. And so I purposely lowballed it to make sure I actually got it. But I'm so glad I did do it. I mean, and it's so sad, man. Some of those trees, I mean, they're probably 400, 500, 600 years old.
Yeah.
It's like the oldest park in Texas. And
Cool.
and the Native Americans have been going there for, some speculate 5,000 years.
What?
In that park, because before, the Europeans came over. But that's just been a sacred Indian like place to congregate there.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting you bring up national cemeteries because that's actually there's a really cool organization. I don't know if you know about it, Saluting Branches. And that was one I had a really unique opportunity. I want to say like 2015, 2016 timeframe. And at the time, Saluting Branches is kind of like maybe a year or 2 old. They did it the year prior, so it must have been like 2015, 16. And they basically they get arborists from all over the nation and they bring them in and they just volunteer all of this tree work for national cemeteries. And obviously our federal government has a budget for these things, but we just feel like it's kind of a right thing to do type of thing. So
Yeah.
it's like we can give back, we can donate our time. It's a single day, but you get what is that strength in numbers kind of scenario. You get thousands of volunteers from all over the nation come in and just do what we do best, which is tree care and,
Yeah.
and take care of the beauty.
Well, what's really interesting about because there were separate things. We did Fort Sam,
Mhm.
and then I did San Pedro Park Springs or whatever, and then but that Fort Sam cemetery, it was a headache doing that job. Like in all honesty, because they ended up going with the company that was veteran owned, female owned, right? They're trying to get those homes. Yeah, and then the problem is the company I did it for wasn't female, or I think it was female owned, but it's not federally veteran owned.
Sure.
And the veteran owned company subbed out to a non-veteran owned company to get the work done. So there was 3 parties involved, plus the middleman, and then the person in charge of the actual cemetery.
Right.
And then they promised them something that we weren't going to do anyway.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
yeah.
it was a total like they promised them A, we delivered B, and they wanted A, and we're like our contract said A,
Yeah.
not I mean said B, not A, and they ended up scratching part of the project, saying like, okay, well we'll take 10% off, and we'll add it on to next year's budget for the next whatever, and they ended up doing that because it was kind of a headache. And then after that, they were like, okay, well, we're not going to work with that company anymore.
Right.
We're going to hire another company. Even though that happens before, that's happened before. They're the ones that are capable to win the bid, but they can't actually do the work, or they don't have the personnel to do the work. They sub out for the work.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times that's happened to me where I'm like caught in the crossfires or so. Not now, baby. Later. We're going to go to PSLs later. Anyway, so but yeah, it was just a headache, and that's happened to me a few times where it's like I'm with the San Pedro Park Springs job. I was subcontracted not by the city, but the city hired a company that hired me, or hired the company that hired me. It's like 4 places removed, and
there's
yeah,
so much nepotism in this industry like that. Like I see it all the time. I joke and say it's like it's a small tree world. We all know.
Yeah.
We all help out. The serious guys, not the the fly by night, chuck in a truck, teeth missing, ladder and chainsaw guys.
It's so funny. Like I don't know if you know who Mark. I'm sorry, I always call him Mark. Justin Crowat is.
Mm-mm.
He's a master arborist. He's in New Braunfels, right? He's with Tree Net Solutions. We met him too.
Oh, okay, yeah. I think I remember the first name,
Yeah.
Justin. Yes, okay, yeah. I remember Justin.
Funny thing about
Yep.
Justin, I probably talk to him once a month,
Great.
every so often.
Yeah, I really enjoyed our time.
He was like, "Yeah, I heard the master arborist won that Fort Sam Cemetery. That was you. I assumed it was you because I'm like, I don't know who else would have won it."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "That's weird because I didn't recognize the company." I'm like, "Yeah, it's because it wasn't a company I normally work with."
Right.
Why do you try to work every day?
Because I'm working a lot, but yeah, I like
That's
it.
how life is. We just got to work every day. That's part of life. In fact, if you enjoy what you do, it's not really hard. You just go to work and it's fun.
Yeah, no, but I thought it funny. Like he knows some of the projects I do and vice versa.
Yeah.
Like, and I remember we are trying to collaborate on something, but we're in totally different things because he's like, "Yeah, I'm not going to do a job for anything less than a certain amount." And I'm like he doesn't really do residentials.
Okay.
No, he don't look at, and I'm like, I will look at a residential tree. It doesn't bother me. I mean, but it's because he's looking after a whole south district of south area of Texas.
Yeah.
So, he's looking for big commercial jobs. Yeah.
I remember it was so funny when we were in consulting academy. This is for ASCA. By the way, for those of you listening, it's ASCA is the American Society of Consulting Arborists. There's about 400 to 450 what's
Yeah.
it, registered consulting.
Yeah, I looked it up. In the state of Texas, there's 15.
15. Okay, that's
You could be a member without being a give me privacy. You can be a member without being a registered consulting arborist, but there are 15.
and I did that. I did that for as kind of a preliminary because I was expecting. So I don't know about you. I started this journey in 2016. I was going to. I actually took the BCMA exam and I missed it by 2 points. And
Oh, wow, yeah.
it was kind of a segue into RCA because I always loved the technical, the reporting side of things.
Yeah, me too. No, definitely.
It's just really fun for me, and I love climbing trees. I'm an old competition guy.
Nice.
I was the fastest tree climber in the state. I got all kinds of trophies and medals. You can see some of them back there from competition days. And I love the actual physical on hands side of tree care. But I really, really, really love just like the technical side of it, the thought work process behind why do we do what we do. And so I was always pushing towards, and I don't know about you, I've had some great mentors over the years. And we did a live stream last night, and it's basically like I've got this little Facebook group called Ask an Arborist, and we'd love to have you guys join if you're listening. But it's a really basically just people drop photos and ask questions about their trees, and some folks want to pay me money to go on and do like a digital arborist consultation or an on-site arborist consultation or whatever, and we go out and we figure out what's going on with the trees. But some people just don't have the funds for it. So I started this little group and it got overwhelming to where we're getting like 60 to 130 people joining every week. And so it's like crazy. So we just started doing like an online, like basically just a live stream every Thursday nights. And so we were doing that last night and we were talking about these things. And I had a mentor. There's actually a kid that I knew him when he was probably 9 or 10. This guy called Zampino, and his dad is Rick Zampino, and now he's like this big. He's a man. It's crazy, He's like he's got man muscles, and he's like climbing trees professionally and stuff like that. And he happened to join the group, and he was asking questions. And I was going through the live stream answering the questions last night, and I saw him come up, and I'm like, "Yo, I got to tell about this." So yeah, if y'all are in McKinney, like Rick Zampino, Advanced Tree Care is the guy to go to because he taught me so much of what I know. And I think he was the world's eighth board certified master arborist, maybe. And he was one of the first registered consulting arborists. This is back in 2008, 2010. And really just like got me passionate about this tree, the tree industry and really doing it right and helping people. And one of the I don't know, famous things, if you will, that he used to tell us all the time. He said, all these idiot arborists are looking up to find what bug's chewing on the tree. And he says 90% of the problem starts in the roots. And that really changed my perspective because when I learned some things and kind of understood what he was getting at, it really, really makes sense because
I definitely agree with that. I've heard something similar, but the way I've always explained it to people is that, I mean, and you probably know to some degree, like the insect problems are typically secondary.
Yes.
Right. And that's another thing, like, that's why I usually push for native trees.
Yep.
Because if someone tells me they have an insect problem, it's like, it's more than likely a secondary issue unless it's an exotic tree and they don't have their cytotoxins to deal with the insect population. And then they suffer because of it. But that's more likely to be an exotic tree that hasn't adapted to that environment versus something that's native. So there are exceptions to that rule, but
of course,
9 times out of 10, someone tells me I have an insect problem. Like, what kind of tree is it? It's native. You probably have other issues wrong with it. Maybe it was poorly planted. It's got some other diseases, funguses, or something else that's
I've got my study guide is on loan, or I'd pull it out and show you. But right in the very beginning, it talks about even the arborist certified arborist study guide. This is like the go-to resource when you want to go becoming a certified arborist. You buy the book, you get the audio version, whatever, and you just digest it. And right there in the very beginning, it says all pests are all bugs, all fungus are secondary infestations or infections. And it's so true. It's just like, humans really is we call it what is it? We call it like flu season, right? Or COVID season. Michael and I were talking about earlier is like, we call it that, but in reality, overeat, overdrink, overstress. We buy, spend money that we don't have to buy our kids presents that they don't appreciate.
Yeah,
And
they throw
our bodies break down and we get sick and we wonder why. And it's like, no, there was a precursor there. Our bodies became stressed. Our immune systems are weakened. Now the pathogens come in and they take over and they take advantage.
Yeah, they could. There are exceptions. I'd argue, like like think of like the emerald ash borer, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's plaguing all these ash trees, and they're completely healthy trees.
Yes.
They've been the healthy specimen of all of them, but they're still so. But it's because they're not evolved to that particular bug, like the ash trees in Europe and Asia.
Yes,
but it's so funny because whenever I think about like municipal arboriculture or like planting, and a big problem, like it's the history repeating itself with the Dutch elm disease, with the emerald ash borer, and then
woolly
area, we have the oak wilt. The problem with the oak wilt is because I know you probably don't deal with it as much, but they've a lot of in this hill country in San Antonio. There's places like Hollywood Park that have lost hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of trees, if not millions. Oh, and actually, millions. All of Texas, they've actually lost tens, if not hundreds of millions worth of trees because of the oak wilt. Yep. But what people have done is they've gone and they make what they call a monoculture landscape, where they cut all the cedar or ash juniper trees called cedar trees, or the cedar elm trees, or the mesquite trees, or whatever that's in between the area, and they leave nothing but the oaks. Yeah. And when you do that, you make it more susceptible to either the pest or the fungus that comes in makes it rampant.
When we put toys in there.
Okay, we will leave it there, and I'll fix it later. Okay. Anyway, but like it's the same thing with them planting ash trees in like Georgia and Mississippi and the Southeast
or in Texas.
And like over here, like the neighborhood I live in, like right out this window, they planted oak. Everybody has 2 oaks in the front yard. 2 oaks.
Yeah. Oh, dude, you're preaching to the choir, bro.
300 houses. 300 houses here all have 2 oaks in front.
Like right out there, man. I don't know if you can see.
And I mean that's beautiful now, but 30, 50, 60 years from now, say they're all connected. One gets oak, and it's one of those things that like they're just now, I feel like they've only done it in the last 10 years. They're starting to change. Well, okay, that, what is it, that 30-20-10 rule?
Yes.
Don't put 30% of the same.
Oh, absolutely. Same family.
Family, right? 20% of the same genus, 10% of the same species. Like you just don't do that. Because that's your parameter, because they bred the Dutch elm disease to take over like it did. They're breeding the ash tree, the emerald ash borer, to plague that area. Like, they've built that situation to be there.
So let me backtrack a little bit, because I want to pinpoint that, because you're absolutely right. Is you get these monocultures, these neighborhoods, and usually, in my experience, tell me if you're experiencing the same thing, but usually what you'll have is some master gardener will come in and say, live oaks are the species to have in this neighborhood. They want that, they call it allée, right? The A-L-L-E-E. They want those canopies to connect in the middle of the street. And it's beautiful. And I think of like, I grew up in Dallas area, and we had like the M streets. In central Dallas, you'd have all these different neighborhoods where those live oaks would just come and form this beautiful canopy. And here in Rice University, there's right near the museum district, you get the same thing. It's the Houston Alley, and it was a master plan community in like 1913. This guy, and I'm drawing a blank on the name, but they call it Live Oak Alley, and it was planned, and we're 110 years down the road, and we've got these awesome trees, and it's true, but we do have that problem where we've monocultured, and you're absolutely right. So Michael was talking about the 30-20-10 rule. So you got 30% of the same family, like you got oak, ash, maple, pine, things like that. And then you've got the 20%. You've got live oak or white oaks, and you've got red oaks and you've got white oaks, you've got red maples, you've got silver maples, you've got all these different types of maples and ash and pines, etc. And then specific epithet, you want no more than 10%. So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit more about that.
Maybe like Texas red oak or Schumer red oak or Emery oak.
Mhm.
Those are all red oak specific, and it makes a lot of sense because, and what's really actually sad too, like if you break apart the actual ecology or the species diversity, like in the hill country, there's a lot of ash juniper, right? Or what they call common name cedar. I say ash juniper because it's not cedar, but anyway, they're actually, there's anti-insect properties that are inside the makeup of the tree. That's why you'll never cut a dead one and you'll see roaches or termites come out.
Yeah.
And by removing those, you're actually taking a barrier for the potential of the nitty-doodly beetle to transmit a fungus to the oak.
You're saying by removing the cedar, you're actually predisposing the oaks more to
I mean, not just to be infected on several ways, not to just be infected by the oak tree, but also to be to act as a barrier to preventing the oak tree from infecting other trees through the root system. Because if you have an oak tree, odds are they're all connected. If you have a mesquite or an oak, a mesquite, a pecan, an elm, and then another oak, odds are
going to break that up.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
So, but this is done over time. You're talking about these ranches that are passed down. They've removed all the ash juniper trees. This has been cultivated. The monoculture landscape has been cultivated for generations of people. I mean, I saw a champion tree last Saturday. It was number 8. I put a video on my YouTube channel. It was number 8.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
It's number 8 in the state, right? 7-foot diameter, almost exactly. But she talks about how the ranch has been in their family for over 100 years.
Wow.
A little over. And they've cut down a lot of ash juniper.
Mm-hmm.
And they have.
That's going to predispose. I'm assuming the champion tree was live oak, correct? Is that right?
Yeah. Okay. What's beautiful about it, though, is that it's actually in an area by itself. It's probably not connected really to any other oak trees. It's like in its own little valley.
Interesting.
So
it's like
it's probably not susceptible to oak wilt as other trees would be, because like 90% of the time the tree contracts oak wilt through the root system. Only 10% is through the actual beetle.
Okay, so I want to hit on that because here in Houston, I'm in Houston, Michael's in San Antonio area and surrounding, and we have very, very, very different climates. So Texas is such a unique place in the world because we've got 8 different ecosystems here. Like you got the piney woods, you got the desert out west, you got Central Texas, the hill country, and you've got the Gulf Coast.
Yeah, you got sandy loam, sandy.
So many different, like here in Houston, we've got the Houston black clay, where you get the deepest form of black clay on the planet, and that's really cool if you're a geologist. It's really terrible if you're a tree. So like we don't deal with a lot of oak wilt. In fact, I just getting prepared for this conversation, I did a little research and I looked it up. There's been 8 cases of oak wilt in Harris County, like ever. And so like that's really good numbers.
That's probably within that. If you think about it, it's probably within that 10 percentile being infected by the beetle, not so much the root. So
you think stuff that we've seen is more from the beetle traveling than it is from.
And the thing is too, a lot of that comes from because supposedly the beetle can only travel up to a mile.
Okay.
It's from an infected red oak
intervention.
Yeah, so somebody probably brought red oak wood that had fungal mats on it, made it, and then infected that tree.
Wow.
Unknowingly to them, I mean, because people aren't really educated about, fungal mats on red oaks carrying oak wilt. So
I remember the spotted lanternfly, and it's still taking its toll. Like it really prefers Ailanthus, the tree of heaven. So my wife and I, we did kind of a thing. We went off the deep end. We sold our business in Dallas, and we kind of traveled for a few years. And we wound up in New Jersey, like New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania area. We did a lot of work out there. Man, I got some incredible experience out that way because like the trees are just different there. They've got more forest grown. Everything's big.
There's a lot more pines. There's a lot more evergreens. And
you get a lot of like white oaks. And so COVID hit in 2020. We were in New Jersey in January, I think, 2020. We didn't even know the word COVID. We had no idea about this crazy disease that's wiping it out. There was actually y'all may have heard on the news. There was a geriatric home, kind of a retirement home that was in Andover, New Jersey. Well, we lived like 15 minutes away from there. And that was like ground zero. And we didn't know what was going on. I just knew that work was slowing down and we're still trying to recover and figure out how to earn money when the whole state's going on lockdown. And so we took a contract out in California and we traveled out to California. So we're driving from New Jersey all the way across country. It's like 2,000 miles or whatever, packed up in our little Buick and we just hit the road. And it was a cool road trip. And we wound up truck and trailering it once we got to Cali. And but as we're going into California, we get stopped by whatever border patrol or whatever you want to call it, like state patrol. And they asked us, where are you coming from? We said, New Jersey. And they said, whoa, we got to check your vehicle. And I said, wait, I'm an arborist. Let me guess. You're worried about the spotted lanternfly coming and laying its eggs on our vehicle and us bringing it into California, because that particular pathogen, again, we talked about emerald ash borer being an Asian type, that's its native territories in China, and same with the spotted lanternfly. Is American trees have not ever seen this. What we do know in the little research that we've done on it is that it loves grapes, and so us Americans, we love our wine, right? I'm sitting here. I got a glass going. Hope you don't mind.
That's true.
It is what it is. But I thought it was really interesting that they actually stopped us and they checked like every square inch of our vehicle to make sure that we didn't have any of the egg mass that.
Impressive they're aware of it. I mean, it makes sense that they would be because it's part of their livelihood. The grape, the vinery or the vineyards, right?
That's part of their economy, and they can't afford to lose their vineyards. And that's what would happen ultimately if the spotted lanternfly does eventually get to California. And I haven't even checked up in it. It may be there now. I don't know, but
yeah, I mean, it's funny because when I've talked to other arborists, when we talk about emerald ash borer, like there's this utility arborist that works in, he lives basically in Austin.
Mm-hmm.
His name's Justin Herrera, and not just Herrera, his name's Ranfrey. Anyway, Ranfrey, he was like, I've been looking up how to treat for emerald ash borer. I was like, yeah, I've been too. And this was like, what chemical would you use? I'm like, I would use this, Amajet thing. And he's like, oh yeah, but this transect or whatever. We're talking about it. Like, yeah, we're preparing for it. We're preparing for the invasion and the invasion of emerald ash borer.
Okay, and that's sort of Dallas. Let me tell you a little bit about that too, because I had a really unique experience in Dallas when we're hearing about this emerald ash borer that's mostly up in Milwaukee and the northeastern regions, and we're dealing with this when we're actually in New Jersey. I actually saw some of the beetles. Actually, let me pull up while I'm talking a little bit of some photos that I had. But the emerald ash borer, we were talking as arborists in the Dallas region, and we were finding this is like, let's backtrack. This is almost 10 years ago. I'm dating myself here, but this is back in 2016. Me and some friends of mine, some of y'all know Jimmy Pritchard. He's really a world-class climbing arborist. And just a great dude. Like he's an awesome. If you're in the Fort Worth area, he's like your go-to guy. He's really good on the production side, knows plant healthcare, knows the structural side of trees, and just an all-around stand-up dude. And he just won the Texas Tree Climbing Championship. And we used to talk up there. We'd be like, hey, I don't know if you're noticing the same thing, but like these ash trees are really struggling, and we're seeing some of the classic symptoms of emerald ash borer, like D-shaped exit wounds, the galleries and things like that, the Z-shaped galleries. And we're like, but meanwhile, Texas Forest Service hasn't found any of them. Well, fast forward like 2 years into the future, in 2018, I think it was Marshall.
They're kind of behind. They're behind. They're a little bit. I mean, rightfully so. I mean, you get what you pay for, but I mean, it's the same thing with the oak. They're a little bit behind.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Usually.
I mean, they have to document it. I mean, and they have to send the personnel out there to confirm the red zones or whatever the infection zones.
Yes.
I mean, but yeah, it takes time. It takes time and it takes money, and I mean, they have. I say that because it's about Oakville. They put it out for 2025.
Mhm.
It's probably 10% bigger than what they put out for.
Yeah.
And then it's just they don't have enough personnel to go and inspect everything.
Right.
You know?
Let me screen share just a little bit because I want to show you the damage that emerald ash borer does, because this is crazy. This is up in New Jersey. Can you see my screen here?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, yeah. So this is just one ash tree that we saw in New Jersey.
Yeah. That's what destroys it. It goes through the pattern that it makes.
Right? Because of that Z-shaped or S-shaped gallery that they create, it's creating a lot of damage. A lot of surface area within that cambium layer is being destroyed. And I got one other one. This is the little, they're actually beautiful.
That reminds me of the southern pine bark beetle.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Very similar in how it.
Talk about that.
Yeah, I've seen some of that as east of San Antonio.
So, okay, so I want to, that's a really good point. I'm glad you brought up, this is New Jersey work. That's typical, by the way. We used to use cranes all the time. But this is the emerald ash borer right here. And you can see the galleries that they're creating. Essentially what's happening, y'all, is the beetle is laying its eggs inside of those galleries. And then the larva, the infants, if you will, they grow up and they start chewing through the wood, and they happen to go in like this crazy S-shaped pattern. And that's what causes so much damage, because the reality is the only living tissue on a deciduous tree is on the outer 1 to 2 layers. We call it the cambium layer. And that's where all of the vascular tissue is for the tree. So once they come in and they damage that tissue, the tree no longer has the ability to transport nutrients and minerals up to the canopy, and the tree ultimately declines and unalives. And so it's detrimental. But you brought up a really, this is like hot topic number one when it comes to where I'm at personally. We're in the Houston area, and pine bark beetles is a, I've heard actually a couple different things, because when I got to Houston, I like to go in and I like to ask the locals. I like to network and meet the guys that know. There's a guy named Alex Shigo that he's largely considered the father of modern medicine or modern arboriculture. And
the coated model, right? In particular,
what's that?
He's responsible for the coated model.
Yes, yeah. And let me grab the book.
The godfather of compartmentalization of decaying trees, right?
Yeah. So this guy right here, where am I? Alex.
Yeah.
And he really kind of modeled how trees work on a physiological level. And so, we owe a lot of what we know as arborists to Dr. Alex Shigo. And so
you would go and make wounds on trees and document how the tree responded to them.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's I'm so glad for the research that he did, because we know what we know because of his research. And one of the things he had a quote that he used to go whenever he'd give his speeches, and he'd say, the 3 most important things to being a good arborist is know your tree, know your tree, know your tree. And I can second that. So when I get to Houston, I'm from Dallas, and I've traveled to New York, New Jersey, California, worked a little in Massachusetts, Iowa, Nebraska, Colorado. Like, I've worked all over the place. Most of my history is in North Texas, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. But I've had a lot of experience all over the place. And one of the things that I found to be the most beneficial thing that I can do as a professional is to go in and just talk to the locals. Find out what they know, talk to them about the local trees. And so I get to Houston, Texas in 2020. It's like June 2020. And I start to check around. I talk to some DCMAs. I talk to some standard certified arborists. And I'm like, hey, what's going on? And they're like, pine bark beetles. Everybody's talking about pine bark beetles. And what I notice is there's you look on Texas Forest Service and the AgriLife Extension and all that. By the way, if you're in Texas, Texas AgriLife Extension is our go-to hub for all things agriculture. And
Yeah,
so,
oh, definitely.
what's that?
Definitely. You know, they've created new cultivars and new cultivar species that they've like you know, and they've put together. And they're really good at referring people for the right kind of tree,
Yeah.
at least in this area. But yeah, I mean, that's what I would do when people ask what to plant. Like, go, you know, check. When you're ever wondering what to plant or where to plant it, how to plant it, that's a really good resource.
And
One of the best.
I've got a list on my website. I'm going to drop it here in the link for you. Feel free to share this, but if I can find the where's our chat? Here we go. Okay, I can't read. That's all. So I just created like a little blog site and basically listed all of the Texas or all of the agriculture extensions by state because it's really important no matter where you are. If you're in Texas, you want to talk to the Texas AgriLife Extension. If you're in Florida, you want to talk to the University of Florida, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Oklahoma State, you've got Oklahoma State University is kind of the central hub for our all things agriculture. And these are the guys that are out in the front lines. They're the ones doing the research and figuring out what pests and pathogens are attacking the local agriculture. And so it's really important. Like you want to know these guys. If you got a tree, you want to get in contact with them because they're going to be a really just a wealth of knowledge. And I don't know about you, Michael. Here's my experience with these guys. They're tree and plant nerds. And we don't get out much. We're out in the forest playing around all day. And so when somebody comes to us with a great question, we love that. And I've found that all of the agriculture extensions are the same way. They're just a wealth of knowledge, and anybody that wants to learn, they're willing to share that wealth of knowledge with.
Yeah, and they're pretty good for resources for also etymology or for researching insects in general. They usually have pretty good programs for funding that. It also depends. Usually, the bigger the insect problem, the more research they'll have to support evidence to treat.
Well, and especially like, you know, here in Texas, we've got a lot of citrus. We've got a lot of cotton out in the West. You know, we've got all different types of agriculture here in Texas, and California is real similar. Florida is real similar. Nebraska, you've got all the cornfields and all that. So it's really going to depend very much on your geography. Is where are you and what grows well and what have over the hundreds of years that we've really, you know, taken over the United States and kind of civilized it. What have we figured out? And so
it makes me think of something I was going to add is I think the Texas AgriLife, they created a Satsuma. It's like Mandarin. They got frost. You don't want it? You don't want it? Okay. They created a crossbreed between an Arctic frost orange and a Satsuma Mandarin, and it's supposed to be able to handle degrees as low as 8 degrees or 5 or 8 degrees, something like that. So they're doing this to push the boundaries of where they can grow citrus in Texas.
Yes,
and that's really interesting. I love the fact that someone's trying to do something like that. Yeah, there you go. Boom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that was 2015. That was a decade ago, man.
So, I'm actually trying to grow one of those in my relative's property right now.
I just planted one for a client of mine, actually.
They were sold out when I tried to look a few years ago, and then I got one like 2 years ago.
Well, and while we're on the subject too, you know, I don't know if you're very familiar with it. I'm not, and so I'm hoping maybe you know a little bit. But what is it? Citrus greening is a really big problem. So, you know, we're talking about citrus. Well, Florida is great for citrus. Texas, the southern parts, anyways, are great for citrus, and there's a lot of issues with citrus because it doesn't like a good cold. It doesn't. No. And so that's one thing that they really were going for, from my memory at least, is whenever they were creating this Arctic frost Satsuma, was they wanted something that could have a very, very low chill factor, a lot of chill hours. Anytime you're looking at any type of fruit, is you want to look at the chill hours. How many hours per year is it below freezing? Is essentially what
exactly. And then, you know, some like that's why like peaches and pears sometimes will do a lot better here because they can handle the cold, or at least, you know, I'm talking about center Texas, central Texas, right? Let's just say. But you know what's really interesting is that I've always considered grapefruit or just citrus in general to be more tropical than subtropical.
Yes.
And so like whenever people say, should I plant it? I'm like, you know, you may get away 5-10 years here, but eventually you get a cold, it will kill it.
Yeah.
You know, my grandpa used to plant lemon trees. They got 10, 15 feet tall, 20. One frost came enough, and he tried everything, couldn't save them, they'll die. I mean, and you're kind of fighting you got to be aware that you're fighting an uphill battle when you do that. You know, you get more bang for your buck using peach or pear or plum or something else.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Is, you know, I get the question, okay, what kind of palm tree should I plant in Houston, Texas?
Yeah.
Right. I'm sure you get that where you're from too. Is like, we love our tropicals. Unfortunately, Texas it's not a tropical state, like at all. Like not even the Gulf Coast regions.
Yeah, we're subtropic. I mean,
we're subtropical. Thank you.
At the most. Which kind of I'll tie it back a little bit. Something I was going to say about the like palms. You mentioned palms. In 2019, we had the Snowmageddon, super cold.
Yeah, I remember.
I remember reading an article that said 70% of all the palm trees in San Antonio died because of that.
Houston was about the same, especially the fancy palms like your foxtails and like your queen palms and things like that. They actually started coming up with some hybrids because of that. So I started hybridizing king palm.
All the date palms I saw did really well, but people don't typically like date palms because they had the pointy barbs on them.
Yeah, I had one. I cut it and it rolled out wrong and it like jammed in.
Exactly.
Those spikes are like 6 to 12 inches.
And the California fan palms do better than the Mexican fan palms, but they still get killed by the
they got little teeth on them that are they're like shark's teeth. So if they're falling, man, that's like get out of the way quick.
Yeah, but the cold definitely did a number on the palms around here and the citrus trees. I think a few of the citrus trees that I've worked on or whatever, a lot of them died when that freeze came. With the whole citrus thing, there's ways. I'm pretty sure you told your customers that there's ways to plant them. South of buildings or walls, or south of barriers. Even vegetation barriers work just as well too, but can work just as well.
Oh, you're talking about for preventing cold and freeze and things like that from destroying the plant.
5 or 10 degrees.
Yeah.
Things like that. What's interesting? As someone saw, I don't know if they planned this, but I once saw an orange tree that did really well, and it was like near Kerrville, Bernie Kerrville.
Yep.
And it was probably 20 feet tall, and it was surrounded though by red tips. Yeah. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Man.
Mama doesn't want to go swimming. He woke the baby up.
Upstairs.
Swimming with us.
Give me more time. Give me more time.
Because she's sick.
No, so. But anyway, they had planted the red tips as a full barrier around it. I think it was like. And the tree, I was like, that's the only way that could explain that tree got so tall and it got so healthy because of it. The vegetation, and there's all sorts of research that says that the trees can cool your house by, what is it, on average of 6 to 10 degrees by just having a wind barrier.
Yeah, up to 20 if you've got like full coverage over the roof.
Substantial one. And I understand there's graphs that show how far it goes out too.
Yeah.
I don't typically worry about that because I guess we're in South Texas.
Sure.
But
I understand.
Definitely a concept.
Yeah, and one thing that we just planted a big orchard. It was like $20,000 orchard, bunch of trees, bunch of shrubs, bunch of plants. They had like everything you can imagine: blackberries, blueberries, peaches, plums, apples. Even there's a few apples that grow well here in Houston. But these are not like your typical. You can't just go buy an apple and stick it in the ground and hope for the best. This had to be out. We had to soil. We had to change everything about the site.
I've always had trouble with apples in Texas.
Apples are tough in Texas. There's a few. What is it? The Jana Gold, I think it is.
I mentioned this to you. My brother's got a PhD in horticulture, and he knows a few different apple species, but I think they're considered apricots.
They're considered
Apricots or
apricots. Okay.
crab apples. Certain crab apples will grow decently around here, but he actually discovered, but he's a horticulturalist. Yes. Thank you.
She outside and gave her
Thank you.
that.
He's a certified arborist, but in all honesty, he knows more about plants than anyone I've ever met. But he's discovered like 2 new flower species, and he's in the process of naming.
That's
I mean, all around plant like knowledge, and the thing he knows like where the trees come from, their origin, their Latin names, the history. Baby, I'm on the phone, baby. Okay, baby, I'll get in a little bit. Thank you.
Can I get it?
Can, but come right back. I'm watching you. And then, like finding the new species, you have to go through. There's a committee or whatever that they're going through right now in the process of naming it.
yes.
Taxonomy on
My
it.
understanding for when you're creating a new species, it has to be like a 50% success rate on the seed propagation.
Yeah.
So I correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my
I'm not
understanding.
too sure about that. But it's so funny because every now and then I'll get calls from him. I'll call him about, hey, what's the best thing to plant? Like on the rocky climate on the side of a cliff. You could maybe get away with the madrone. Take some drone.
There you go. That's
and you would say something exotic like that. And I'm, okay, you ask me maybe 5-10 trees, he'll give you 20, 30.
That's good.
But what's so funny about him though is he'll call me about like, hey, how did I treat this tree? Like he has no frame of reference or actually treating trees, but he knows so much about them.
Yeah.
His concept is plant a tree to prevent the future diseases, like prevent the issue from starting in the first place.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartly.
Yeah, I mean, but people want to. I mean, and I've taken care of like trees from Hawaii and or Asia, or like growing for trees or something like exotic trees, dragon trees.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Well, I got just on that note, I've got a rainbow eucalyptus on its way over from New Zealand or Australia. I can't remember which, but what I want to do is I want to try to bonsai it, see what happens. It's like, why not?
like that, I'm like, I try to tell people like, hey, this is you're fighting uphill. You're going uphill because you've taken it out of climate, it's soil, introduced it to more pests, funguses, humidity, you name it. It's not. We're not sure how it's going to respond in that environment. We can only prevent so much because eventually anything can hit it and kill it, and you can only do so much to try to make it home.
Yeah, even 3,000-year-old trees die at some point. Every tree is nothing. Excuse me, unalive for the algorithms or whatever. Like I was doing that live stream last night, and Lucas, my marketing guy, kept brazzing on me like, "You're gonna get doxxed by YouTubes and face webs and all that."
Oh yeah, they'll kick you out.
Oh yeah, so yeah, unalive, but it's. I'm kind of I love, like, I'll give you an example. Here in Houston we have freezes just like you do in San Antonio, and it's not common. It's once or twice a year, but it happens, and it wipes out all the tropicals. We were talking about palms earlier, and I got a bottle brush. I'm in a brand new house, brand new subdivision, whatever. And the builders come in and they put all these beautiful tropical plants, and they're gorgeous when they stick them in the ground, and then you get that one freeze and you got a brown landscape, that's just not fun. So I thought it'd be cool. Let me screen share a little bit. There's a product called heater tape, and they use it up north a lot. And this is maybe something, I don't know if you've tried this with your
Heard of it. I've never actually really seen it.
Oh, dude, this is unbelievable. And maybe I can find that. Let me try to find it here in just a second too. But like that, it basically looks like electrical wire, except it generates heat. It's got a heating element inside. And so up north they use it. They'll drape it across the roofs, as you can see here, and they'll wrap pipes with it and things like that. So I took one and I wrapped it around our irrigation piping so it didn't burst. And I took another one, and we've got everything else is pretty, like Pittosporum is okay in the freeze, Indian hawthorn's okay in freezes.
Yeah.
We have like a wax myrtle that does okay in freezes, and those were fine. We have this one bottle brush tree, and I was like, I want to see this bad boy bloom, and so it sits right outside my window, and so I wrapped it in heater tape and covered it up in a blanket to trap the heat inside. And I'll tell you, I had the only living bottle brush tree in all of our
Interesting.
neighborhood, and it was so gorgeous. Let me see if I can find the photos of it because it's worth
I've never seen it. Someone mentioned it to me once that if it would work on a citrus tree, and I was like, I don't know.
Oh yes. Oh dude, I'm telling you, like I've done that. So when I was telling you about this orchard we planted recently, and we actually reran some electrical conduit to set up stations right out. So we had this little orange grove, citrus grove, and we reran the let's see, when would that be? February-ish. We basically set up like stationary electrical outlets so that the client can just plug their oh yeah, it was right around this. So this is all my plants inside of the garage. There's Microlife is a great brand, by the way. If you don't know it, Michael, that's like my go-to source. They're right here in Houston, and it's awesome. Let me see if I can find it because like it's unbelievable, man. There's my little one, by the way. Keep them up. Oh, by the way, I don't know if I told you this, Michael. I'm writing a book. It's actually, I say I'm writing it. It's written. It's done. I just got to format it.
That's funny. 'Cause I'm writing a book too. I just got to get it published.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's where I'm at. It's just
Mine's called How to Save a Tree.
How to Save a Tree. I love it.
And it talks about like I try to put stuff in North America and worldwide, but it's so hard to do that. So a lot of what's just local.
Yeah.
But I mean, I never really, and I've seen it a couple times, like a real good process on how to oh, that looks beautiful.
Isn't that gorgeous?
Yeah. You wrapped it around the trunk going up, or?
Yeah, I wrapped the whole plant, man. I just wrapped the entire thing.
Like it was Christmas lights or something.
Yeah,
like that?
just like Christmas lights draped around a Christmas tree. I just wrapped the whole stinking thing, and it worked. I was kind of blown away. I was like, but I had the only bottle brush tree that did that this year. Oh, here's a couple weeks later. It's like even fuller.
That's nice. Yeah, no, wow.
Isn't that beautiful? So
that's interesting.
yeah, if you got, I guess, lesson learned, if you've got a some sort of a tropical tree or something sensitive to the cold, this heater tape, man, I was impressed. I'm not gonna lie. It takes a lot to impress me at this stage in the game, but I really was. I was super impressed. And I actually did a video on it. Let's see if I can pull it up. That's cool with you.
Oh yeah. This is soda.
Maybe.
This is soda. It's a new soda. Well, your teeth will grind. New soda. You can get all gone.
My son must be on the internet or something. It's like super slow internet speeds.
Can I see soda? You think it's porcelain? The next the microwave. The next the microwave. Get this.
Oh, here it is. Yeah, okay. Yeah,
No.
this is amazing. Oh, you'll see my little one running around here in just a sec.
See for soda. See for.
Got through with that wicked cold freeze. I wanted to show you this. Put some heater tape on this tree while it got down to 21 degrees. Now, if you don't know this tree, this is a bottle brush. You can see here, down here, we've got some of the parts that were exposed. We didn't get to cover these, but we've got this heater tape running, generating a little heat. And you can actually tell the difference in color. There's a little one. Difference in color right there. Nice dark green. These are pale, kind of frosty looking. Not great. I imagine these might die, the leaves fall off or get stressed or whatever. But this goes to show you what a big difference getting prepared before freeze can really make. And so, get yourself some heater tape. You go on Amazon and get it. It's cheap stuff. Really goes a long way. Thanks so much for watching and follow for more great tree tips. Got through with that wicked cold freeze.
Awesome. That's awesome.
So that was like maybe 3 weeks later, as you see the end result was they just blew up. And so, that's one of the, and not to toot my own horn here, but like, that's why it's so critical. Just like if you get sick, you want to go and hire a professional, somebody that knows what they're doing.
Oh, you save some time, save some money.
You save time. Yeah, you save time, you save money. And ultimately, like, and when we're talking money, like sometimes you're talking tens of thousands of dollars when it comes to trees. You can't just replace a 50-year-old oak. It's not possible. I take that back. It is possible. I'm friends with Environmental Design Incorporated, and they transplant 50, 60, 70-inch diameter trees all the time. Right. Those guys are nuts, and they have like a 96% success rate. But you're talking $250,000 plus to move.
Yeah, I think I've talked to their sales representative or one of their arborists, sales arborists said it goes about 5,000 per every inch caliber.
Yeah.
So
so if you've got it, do you want to spend 5,000 per caliper inch to plant it? Or you would just spend a few hundred to preserve it? So
I've seen that, and because it's like, okay, well, they kind of changed the game on the potentiality for replacement value on the the tree replacement appraisal method, right? Like by doing it that way.
It's wild, dude. I've seen some of the. Let me send you.
They have some if I remember correctly, they have some patents on how they're moving and how they're excavating them and moving them. It's pretty interesting. I mean, that's like engineering.
Oh man, David is such a cool guy.
Cutting edge engineering with trees.
And his partner Tom, I think it's Tom is his name. Let me look up. I got to show you this video, Michael, because this will blow your mind. But David sent me
virtually any size of tree they could move, and I think they did in Israel, or when I talked to them a few years ago, they were talking how they did a massive one, 50-inch one or something, and they moved it to Israel. I'm like, man, they shipped it that far.
Isn't that wild?
That sounds crazy. That sounds like
wild. All right, I gotta save this. Let me see if I can share it to my computer and play it for you, because this will blow your mind. So I was talking to David. He's a cool guy because like I like doing big things and trying things out. Like we know the math, we know the science behind how trees work and all that. Well, let's give it a shot. Like if the math works and the numbers work, why not? Let's test it out. So I'll give you an example of that. We had a tree, it was 27-inch pecan that blew over during Hurricane Beryl. And, we were talking about like the client really loved this tree. And they're like, can we preserve it? I'm like, well, it's still growing. Like, obviously, the structural roots have been compromised. So we have to replace that somehow. And so what we did is we literally took a crane, took a big, like 20,000 pound material handler, and we basically uprighted this 27-inch pecan tree, mature tree. And we removed a lot of the canopy height, so we reduced the canopy height significantly, which is not great. But we were able to use, I think it was 5 or 6 different 10,000 pound guy wires to essentially be able to just prop it up. So we lifted up, crane and all that, and we've got so many hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of pull power or whatever. And we wound up bracing it, basically sending anchors from the tree up in the upper canopy down to the soil. And we actually ran it through the concrete in some places. We had to move some of the parking spaces and deal with the city for ADA compliance and all that. But we were able to prop this tree up, and it's still alive today. This is almost a year later. And so we don't know if the tree's going to survive. That's a totally different animal than it being structurally stable. Structurally stable, we got it there. This is about a 13,000 pound tree. We got about 50,000 pounds worth of support system on it. So technically, we're good. Now, I'm not God. I don't know the future. And so we made them sign their life away a little bit on a liability release, of course. But Basically, the tree's okay structurally. The next question is can we keep it alive? Can we keep it thriving? Okay. And that's the hard part in my book.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I don't even know. Well, they're not the same thing, right? I mean, that's what I always teach in classes. Like, structure's not the same as health.
Amen.
You have a structurally sound dead live oak, and then you have an unstructurally sound living hackberry.
Yes.
Or ash tree, I guess, or something like that. Like they species really affect everything.
It does. Yeah. So tell me about that, because you brought that up. Is there's really two primary aspects of arboriculture, and I could not agree more, but I want to hear it from you. Is what are those two, and how do they interact, and how are they separate?
They obviously feed into each other. If you have a healthy, if that tree's healthy enough, maybe it's because it's more mature and may not be able to redevelop the structural roots. But if it's healthy enough, potentially, if it was young enough, healthy enough, it could redevelop them. But the health would help compensate for the structural integrity of it. But if it's not, like, and vice versa. Like I had a pecan. I had a pecan in my old neighborhood. As far as dead for 3-4 years, nobody did anything about it, and it was just there. And it dropped a few limbs, but 60 foot tall.
Yeah.
And then eventually somebody moved in and was like, "Hey, this tree's dead." And that tree had been dead for at least 3-4 years.
Right.
But I wouldn't trust, like, if it was an ash tree or a hackberry, something softer wood. I wouldn't have trusted. You can get away with it with live oaks, pecans, mesquites, maybe elms, but not for softer trees. Typically the faster the tree grows, the weaker it is.
And I don't know about you, but I'm a really big believer in let sleeping dogs lie. If a tree falls in a forest, who cares? That maybe they've got emerald ash borer. Well, guess what that is? That becomes bird food.
It's all sorts of what is it? The naturalist view. Yeah. Also for the environment, birds, woodpecker.
I've got clients that have a little bit of land, and you've got a tree that dies or unalives. Face webs. The tree unalives, and the client's like, "Well, we got to cut it down." It's like, well, what if we don't? What if we just leave it there and let the woodpeckers go after it, and that's going to be like perfect food for them. They're going to go the piletids. Affiliated, or however you pronounce it.
All the birds and insects will attract all sorts of other animals.
Yeah, and that builds a healthy ecosystem overall. Yeah, and so you've got, like, right from the smallest organism down to the biggest organism, you're creating a food source for all of those by leaving those trees. And so it's not okay in every scenario. Like if you've got a standards, like a suburbia type house, and you've got a 20-foot wide front yard, and one of your trees unalives, don't leave it. Take it out and replace it. But if you've got a little bit of acreage or some land, and you get a tree that unalives back in the back, away from everything, the kids don't play back there. It's not a threat to the house or the family. Leave it, like
I remember I've once had you probably did this too. I used to sell for tree companies and talk to customers, and they'd be like, "Oh, my oak tree, my red oak tree, or my live oak tree is over my house." And they said, "Oh," I'm like, "Well, it could, it's always." But that tree, by the book, can live. Say if it's an oak tree, 200-300 years old. Red oak tree, if it's a live oak, maybe 1,000. And he's like, "Yeah, that tree could probably outlive your house."
Yes, very much.
More if it stayed healthy. If the tree was, we could just say the tree was healthy and structurally sound as it is now. The potential of it outliving your house is probably higher than it falling on your house.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And a tree like that's more likely to die first than to become cataclysmic. And I don't know about you, but like whenever I've seen, I was going to ask you, I've seen pecans fail maybe 2 or 3 times. I've seen elms fail, that were struck by lightning.
Yep.
I would say though that whenever I've seen a pecan or an elm collapse or fail, somebody messed with it. Somebody damage with the construction of the roots, did trenching or did installation of a wire, and they damaged something on the tree or on the tree, and eventually it became an issue, and the tree, couldn't accommodate for the damage.
Yeah.
And that's not always the case, but most of the time, if a pecan collapses, someone messed with it. Like, it's not in its healthy and natural environment. I saw, for instance, I saw 2 pecans die or fall over that were probably over 20 inches. Mm-hmm. And they had slowly been dying after 2 years of someone putting a sidewalk, a foot or 2 away from them. And it's like, okay, well, that damaged the tree to where it collapsed 2 or 3 years later. I mean, but that's typically what I see with pecans and elms and harder trees. Same thing with live oaks. Like, I've only ever seen a live oak drop a major limb, and I think it was recently because we had record drought and heat, and then we had a freeze before all that, and then we had another freeze. Anyway, it just collapsed. Like, one major limb fell on it, and I was like, yeah, that was the environmental issues that affected it that weren't man-made, or but that's not typically the case. I'd love to have a live oak branch over my house, right? Like a massive, especially sound or structurally sound or healthy.
And you bring up a really, really good point. And I want to talk about this a little bit. We're getting maybe half an hour left on our time, but insurance and trees is really kind of a sticky subject these days, especially around the Gulf Coast, especially around coastal regions like Florida, California, Oregon. And I don't know about you. I've seen kind of a trend. And I did a video about this maybe a year ago, and it was basically talking about what do you do when your insurance company sends you a notice of cancellation? Because, right, you're smiling, I see it. Like, I know you've seen this before, and I deal with it on a regular basis.
I'll give you a quick story.
Yeah.
So about 2 weeks ago, I work, some arborists will call me usually for diseases because I use like plant-based treatments, or I'll use hard insecticides, whatever. Sure. But if they don't know what something is, they'll be like, how would you treat it? Or like, what would you do? And I do report writing sometimes for other companies, probably like 7 or 8 companies. So call me, whatever. Yes, baby. Soon, baby. 20, 30 more minutes. Give me more privacy. I know. I'm almost done. So this guy, I love Justin Herrera. He works for ABC over here. He's a really good climber. I've used him for tree risk assessments for, level 2. I'm sorry, level
ABC Tree Care.
Yeah, aerial.
Okay, yeah, I know them. Yep.
He does aerial inspections. He's done some for me. He's really knowledgeable. He's helped me treat palms because I don't typically mess with palms. But yeah, we talk to each other. I probably talk to him once a month. Anyway, he calls me and says, "Hey man, I got this report, and I think it's in Austin, and I don't want to do it. Something with the tree. They want all this live oak to trim. They want this heritage live oak, 3-foot diameter, cut back away from the roof. They're not going to mess with the insurance, or the insurance isn't going to insure the house if they don't do that." He's like, "What would you do?" I was like, "I would write a report, man. Write a report. Say that the tree's structurally sound from your tree risk assessment point." Okay, maybe you can't be quiet.
I grabbed this picture because I got to show you. That's my little one. She was a lot younger back then, but she said so. I get it.
No, but yeah, and I was like, yeah, just write the report. Put in there that you've trimmed the tree because they already lifted it up to, I think, what is it, realtor standards? I guess in that area, because what is it? Everywhere is different, 4 to 6 feet.
It is.
Parents, right? I don't know. I'm just saying that's the range typically. I think now they're moving it to 8 to 10. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But anyway, he had it at 6 or 8. He's like, yeah, we've already lifted it. We've already done this. The unions are strong. And we'll put that in the report, put all this other stuff in it. And just let the customer know that, hey, I can only do so much. You can only do your best to convey that the health and the structure of the tree is stable, and then you give that to the insurance company. They'll do whatever they want with it.
Right.
I mean, but if the insurance company really wants the money, if they're really concerned about the health and structure of the tree, why wouldn't they listen to an expert to tell them that, hey, that the tree's more structurally sound? Rather than
just drives me nuts.
A layman that says, hey, because I've written reports too like that, where they're like, a red oak is 15 feet from the property and it's only 20 feet tall. It's healthy.
Right.
And it's like, well, they need to remove that tree because it could fall on the house. I'm like, that tree can live 200 years old. It's healthy right now. What are you talking about? Doesn't make any sense. It didn't even have branches over the house, but just because of the fall radius,
Right.
I'm like, this is being done by misguided. And I've written reports like that. They ended up calling me like, hey, yeah, they got it approved. They didn't know. They thought it was I guess a trash tree or a weak tree or something like that. So this does happen. And I've talked to people like, with the ASCA, there's a guy named John, Myers, and he's one of the ASCA people. And I guess he was one of my mentors or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he was talking to me. He's like, yeah, when that happens, I mean, I just tell people like, yeah, like basically what I said, you can only do so much. You can only convey them so far because the insurance company is going to want, they're going to either want to do business with you after you've had an expert look at it. And then you can even, he's like, you can try to haggle with them and say, hey, an expert should look at this tree every 3 years if you're concerned about it. And that's part of the stipulation for the insurance to be applied. But sometimes they're not willing to work with you at all. And you can't force them to give you the business. You can only do what you can, And I was telling the guy, you just do your best and hope for the best. I mean, that's basically what you can do.
Yeah. And we were talking, so within ASCA, American Society of Consulting Arborists, these are like the go-to experts. So a lot of these guys literally wrote the book for how to do tree care properly, right?
I love their feeds. Their
the exchange.
Oh man, that's so impressive.
That's incredible, dude. So just so y'all know listening is we've got he's got it on his patch right there on his arm. This side. ASCA is American Society of Consulting Arborists. And these are, I thought becoming a BCMA, a Master Arborist, was like, okay, I'm at the top of my game now. And then I go to ASCA, and these guys literally wrote the book. And I thought it was really interesting. I actually posted something. I was wondering, like, for litigation, is it okay to use like Google Street View and Google Overhead View for litigation purposes? And man, I got probably 30 or 40 answers from these guys that have been there.
And I watched it for like maybe 3-4 months before I was like, man, look at this channel.
Right.
And they're all, there's a lot of PhDs in there. And I was like, I don't even feel like I can respond. I finally responded.
Qualify. I'm not worthy. We're not worthy.
I finally responded to one about tree risk assessment because I was like, they're missing a bunch of stuff. I'm going to put something on here. I'm like, hey, you got to take into account the tree profile.
Thank you. When you just stump them,
Like you got. I mean, somebody was like, "Hey, that's a good response," but also the over trimming, blah blah blah, the epicormal growth. I'm like, yeah, that's true too. But I mean, but they were missing like the tree profile for the assessment. Like kind of like you're worried about the lean. Like I would be worried about the lean if it wasn't a no.
Right.
Like that's part of the decurrent growth pattern. Like you got to take that into account. Like it goes in out. Normal. A maple, something that goes vertically, that lean. Yeah. I mean, definitely that's more hazardous than a decurrent tree, But anyway,
and what was really cool to me, this is like the first post I put, and I get an email because whenever you post on the Ask Exchange, you have to put your email, you have to put your account number and all that, and I get this email from a guy named Russ Carlson, and I'm like, and he's basically offering me free stuff. Like stuff that he pays for, that he's trying to help just a fellow arborist out. And I'm like, Russ Carlson. I'm like racking my brain trying to figure out who's this guy. And then it clicked. I'm like, I've read 2 of his books. This is crazy. This guy that is like a hero to me, that taught me some things that I've implemented, very important things that I've implemented into my practice and into my business. And here he is, just like sends me a personal email, not on the exchange. Just like writes my inbox and saying, hey, I use this program called Eagle View, and I pay like $1,200 a month for 1,000 photos. They basically just send a drone out and they take a picture of whatever GPS coordinates you need. And we did. And I took him up on the offer, and he sent this drone out and he took a picture, and I used it in a court scenario. And it's like, that's the kind of culture that they've really built is everybody helps each other out.
If it's weight in gold, I was kind of, if I'm not completely honest, I would say that that alone makes the what is it called, the membership fees worth
totally worth it. Yes. So if any of you arborists are out there listening to this, like, holy cow, ISA is great, TCI is great, IA is great. Like, those are great organizations. Some of them arguably might be cash cows. But if you really want to progress your career and progress your future, sign up. Just you've got certain stipulations you got to meet. But once you get to that point, push to go and become even just a member of ASCA, of American Society of Consulting Arborists. That's these guys right here. And I'm telling you, that was like an eye-opening because I wanted to do this. I told you back in 2016.
Yeah.
A lot of life happened. We wound up traveling and we sold our business. And I didn't even know if I was going to be in arboriculture in 5 years. And, now, but yeah, it kind of sucks you in. It's a fun industry to be in. And
I left ASCA in 2018, and then I was like, yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
and I think I became master arborist or something. I was about to become master arborist, and I remember thinking like, well, I was like, I'm gonna do the master arborist first for sure.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, the ASCA seems cool. I'm like, well, you gotta attend the academy.
yeah.
I'm like, oh, they had it in New York or whatever. And I'm like, that's a headache. And then like it just so happened it was in San Antonio. Like, what? I gotta do it.
And
it was
that's
like,
where Michael and I met, was in San Antonio at the consulting academy.
because if
And
I didn't do it then, God knows it'd be Washington next year. You know what I mean?
Hawaii or wherever.
Wherever.
You never know. They're all over.
Yeah, no.
I was so disappointed because I think they had the actual ASCA conference, which is different from the academy, of course.
Oh yeah.
In San Antonio, and I had to miss it last year just due to finances, and we had some moldy homes that we were moving from, so that sucked.
Yeah, no.
But we basically, I had to miss it, and it was like, it's right there though, and I think the next one's in like
it's funny because I talked to Justin Crobot, Raffles Master Arborist of this Tree Man Solutions.
Yep.
They're really good company, by the way. If you're got bigger projects that you need.
Yes,
I think they did like SeaWorld or something. They did the follow-up on the San Antonio Zoo, I guess because they had aerial climbers.
Yep.
And they used me right away because they're like, we need someone here right now. And I was like, okay, I can do it. I did the 2023 San Antonio Zoo assessment. Or
That's so cool.
He did the 2025.
That was a whole survey, wasn't it?
Yeah, but he called me. He's like, hey man, do you have your report from last time you did it? Can I like run off of it? I'm like, yeah, you can go ahead and do it. I gave it to him.
That's awesome.
You want to meet? He's like, no, just send me the report. I just, and he was like, hey, we aerial and inspect the Girls, be quiet. Be quiet. They're throwing stuff down the stairs. Oh my god. No, but it's just funny how small that world is.
Yes. Yeah, and he's bringing up a company called Tree Man Solutions, TREE, of course, MANN Solutions, and they are a really, really top-notch consulting firm when it comes to arboriculture. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but most of their focus is on tree inventory systems, and
that is a big bulk of it. That is a big bulk. They do trim, and they're looking for massive projects like, let's say, like huge ranches, huge land development projects, things like that. They do aerospace and some kind of healthcare, but that's probably where they're lacking a little bit, and they really don't typically deal with residential. They're mainly focused. Like when I talk to him, I'm like, yeah, I'll look at a championship. He's like, no, they're gonna have to pay me thousands of dollars for me to go do that. Like,
right,
we're a little different than me. I'm a little different than you. Like, I'm like,
well, if it's your neighbor, yeah, help them out. Charge them what you need to, but help them out. Yeah, I'm the same way. Yeah, and they're more of a commercial municipal type business model, which is great. And then you get more of the residential side of things. Really, there are those three should be separated, and they often are. Is you've got residential; these are your, like me. I own a home. I've got a tree. I've got trees, and let's say I need a professional to come in and manage, or at least help me manage them well. And then you've got the city side of things. And a lot of the city guys, there's actually a new certification, or they changed the name of the municipal arborist from municipal arborist to urban forester.
Yeah, they changed.
Okay, yeah. So Michael's an urban forester as well as a board certified master arborist.
If you use I say it sometimes like this. If you use ISA and the ASCA, I am the most certified in the church.
I believe that actually.
Because there's utility, right? Utility, urban forest professional, trees consultant, and master arborist. And then there's only 15 board certified master arborists.
There's only 15 in Texas?
Oh no. I'm sorry, registered consulting arborists.
Yeah, registered consulting arborists in Texas.
And in Texas, for a board certified master arborist, I believe there's like 50.
Yeah, there's not a lot. Like Texas, I think what's crazy too, to me, anyways, is here in Houston, there's 6 of us. Now there's about to be a 7th, but that's up to him on time, right? So he's got to go take the test and get it done. Good dude. Yeah. I know he's going to pass. That was, by the way, BCMA exam compared to the ISA, the Certified Arborist exam, night and day difference.
Yeah, there's 7 or 8 topics in the Certified Arborist exam.
Mm-hmm.
Like 19 or 20.
Yeah, it's 20. It's freaking 20 different. So BCMA,
so many things.
It's like the difference between a bachelor's degree and a PhD. Is the BCMA has to know everything there is to know about arboriculture and about the trees that we manage, and that is one of the hardest tests I've ever taken across the board, because it's not just what do you know, it's can you apply what you know. And so the questions they ask, there's typically 2 right answers. One of them is the most right answer. Whereas the Certified Arborist exam is, can you memorize the knowledge base? And you don't necessarily have to apply it, but do you know the terminology, and do you understand the knowledge base and the general concepts?
They'll make it scenario based too, where it's like, yeah, mulching would help it, but actually what is it? Aerating the soil around it for the compaction has been wrong. Whatever.
Yeah.
And it's both of these are good answers, but this one is the best because it attacks the primary.
And I'm not even going to lie. When I took the test in 2016, I failed it by 2 points. When I took it in 2023, I blew it out of the water because I've learned a lot since then. And I was so upset in 2016 about not passing it and then a lot of life happened. And then I look back 7 years later. And it's like, holy cow, I've waited way too long to do this. So we finally got our ducks in a row and went to the test.
I would say that, and a lot of times it's in their nature to be like that, to be like, I'm discouraged. But I really would, and anyone who wants to, I really would say, like, you want to do it, if you fail, you got to see that as an opportunity to learn from it, and it can be discouraging. I mean, 2 of the arborists that are in my network that I work with, they've both taken it, they both failed it. Mm-hmm. I'm like, they get discouraged, man. Like, and I've given them books and literature, and ISA has these quizzes that you do for CEUs. I have like 200 of them. I'm giving them like 10 each. Like, what do you struggle with? You struggle with utility? Here, take this. I got these quizzes. Or you struggle with installation or construction damage or whatever. Let's take these. But I mean, because I failed it the first time too. I mean, I remember I was like, I read 5 books preparing for it and then failed it. And I'm like, I'm gonna read 5 more books. Like, this is where I said that, But
and going back to this was like my worst subject was tree and plant appraisal. And I got I think like a 30 on that portion of it. So Michael mentioned there's 19 or 20 different sections, and they're all categorized. So you got climbing, you've got pruning, you've got plant health care, you've got all these different aspects. Municipal relations, report writing, etc., insurance, etc., and Barazomai. And plant health care, or excuse me, tree and plant appraisals was the one that I got like the lowest score on. What's really nice when you go and take the BCMA exam, they tell you what you missed. And so you can go back and you can study, and there's a fee associated. You got to go pay the testing fee again. But man, that was one of the best things that I ever did was go and fail that exam, because then I knew what my weak points were, and I was able to course correct, focus on those. I
struggled a lot with biotic. I think it wasn't biotic. Well, it was prebiotic and biotic disorders. Mm-hmm. Because what's horrible about that test is you deal with not trees in your area, you deal with them all North America.
I think one of the questions was on Dawn redwoods. We don't have those in Texas.
We don't mess with pines.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever treated pine. More not till that time.
You got Afghan pines. That's about it. You know, that's all that's growing in your region.
Yeah, and it's like, well, they're asking all sorts of questions about foliage issues on pines. I do not know. I mean, I bought a whole book on pines just to figure that out. You know, but yeah, I mean the scope of that, and then different. I know at the time I was really doing with utility work, and I understood that. But the municipal arborist exam or the urban forestry exam, it's really hard, man. I mean, I failed that one too. But the what pisses me off about it is that both of those exams, utility and urban forestry professional exam, whatever, they do not put the tree first.
Yeah.
In the actual equation for urban development or urban forestry. What they actually do, and it sucks because as master arborists, I always think tree first, because I'm the tree alive.
Yeah.
In urban forestry, they're like, oh, you gotta keep the policy, the specifications that the urban development has created or the urban society has created, the municipality, you have to keep those in the forefront. So it's a municipality and it's the tree health, and you have to combine them together.
It's a totally different mentality.
It's totally disgruntling.
Yeah.
You know, like, and the same thing with utility, like,
yes.
oh, well, you're doing utility, it's like you got to balance the utility with the tree health. It's not just about the tree health.
When the end goal is not necessarily keep the tree alive, the end goal is keep the power running. You know,
yeah,
exactly. Able to
like don't get sued for doing what you need to do to keep.
Yeah.
It's like,
liability mitigation. Yep.
And it's funny because whenever I've talked to other utility arborists, like in Austin or from Houston, I noticed that I'm more, because I came from a master arborist and then I became a utility arborist. I was like, I'm more tree than they are.
Yeah.
A lot, 9 times out of 10, when they meet another utility arborist, I'm just more tree. Like, I'm always about like, well, this is better for the tree.
Yep.
And I it's kind of, I did it backwards. I should have gone ... but you know,
right.
my
utility or municipal first and then BCMA.
Yeah, I missed that. Yeah. I missed that because it screwed me up on the exams, or at least for the urban forestry development, urban forestry professional, because it's all about specifications. It's like, is it cool? Because they had questions about, like, for instance, we don't think about this, but I know people that work with urban development do. They're like, oh, the sidewalk is off of 0.2 of an inch, or depending on whatever specification. How do you fix that if the root's the one lifting it up? Do you go and you damage the root to put the sidewalk down? I mean, because you have to fit that specification.
Sure.
You know, and it's like the answer is, yeah, you slightly damage the tree. Just you've got to balance both of them. You can't just, you know, you're not going to trench the whole.
You got to
tree.
find that happy medium.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and it's really sad too, because the more I've learned about it, there's all sorts of things you can use in urban environment, like rubber concrete, elevated concrete, you know, yeah, it's lifted up to allow the roots to grow. I mean, all these methods, they're really expensive, but they save the urban forest.
Yeah,
you know, you could save heritage trees, valuable trees, priceless trees by doing things more expensive, but a lot of places don't allow that to be done. Like, I was talking to this guy from California, and makes me think of he was in Hollywood. We have a place called Alamo Heights, one of the wealthier neighborhoods, and he was like, why can't we he asked me to do a tree risk assessment on his trees over a plaza over the main street in Alamo Heights. And I'm like, the city came in here and damaged your tree, sir, you know, and then they're so close to the foundation of them. He's like, and I'm like, they're not going to fall anytime soon. I don't believe so. But the thing is, they're damaged. Like, the health has been compromised, and they have to be monitored. We can mulch them. He said, well, how can we fix that? I'm like, well, all the methods that I know how to fix it, they're not going to implement. It's not part of their specifications to implement it. I mean, he's like, well, how do we change that? I'm like, well, you have to change the municipal board, or the board of the committee, whatever committee.
You got to convince 8 different individuals to pass this through a board meeting.
And it's so expensive to do something like that it's like, because the city did it, you're going to have to take it up with the city to fix it. And I'm almost sure they're not going to do anything to try to fix it, because they don't have, first off, they don't have the means. They have the expenses, but they don't have the wherewithal to do it. So it's like, kind of like the people that know, they don't care.
So yeah, it's really interesting you talk about that, because I'm going to put up a picture of a guy that many people here in the Houston area know. And he was actually instrumental. So I was on a group called the Save Montrose Live Oaks, and just a little background history. They were essentially there was a small group of kind of political organization called the TIRZ, TIRZ, and that's tax increment reinvestment zones. So essentially, as the neighborhood grows up, as the old homes are bulldozed and the new homes come in and sold for 1 million plus or whatever, all of that it increases the tax revenue. So what they do is the tax increment reinvestment zone, they take all that excess tax money and they reinvest it back in the community. In theory, now anybody knows that when you got 3 or more people involved.
There's a company behind that like pocketing some of it, or what?
Oh, dude, it's so bad. Yeah, there was actually our involvement. It kind of like I got a big target right on my head here in Houston, because we made some people very, very mad. We got some people fired. We got some board members asked to not return and things like that. And anyways, but we basically they were going to bulldoze 284 mature trees along Montrose Boulevard. Now, if you know Houston, Montrose is one of the biggest. It's like 2.5 miles. It's a connector between like Allen Parkway, which is near I-10, and Highway 59. So it's one of the longest streets in Houston, and I think it was something like 130,000 people travel it every day. And so it's a really very highly populated area, and the people it's really a unique place because they there's a lot of really cool older historic buildings and things like that, and you get that mixed with some of the newer developments that are coming in. And essentially, they were going to bulldoze the trees in order to widen the sidewalks, because there was a big lobbyist group on the bike rally teams, and they wanted big sidewalks. So they petitioned. They've got actual paid lobbyists that came in and they convinced people to bulldoze all the trees. Well, one of the tricks that we played was and I'm going to screen share here real quick, was we actually, here's one of the cake we had. We had a big celebration, a couple months ago, and it was Save Montrose Live Oaks. I'm going to try to keep it a little cool, but they basically, this is Mayor John Whitmire, and he is the mayor of Houston, Texas, which is the 4th largest city in the nation. So it's kind of a big thing. And we had this little celebration. Well, Mayor Whitmire was really cool because he's a black and white kind of guy. He looked at the facts. He said, does this make sense to bulldoze the trees, or should we try to preserve them? And so we had this little celebration. Long story short, we wound up winning. One of the tricks that we did was we actually reached out to a group called the Texas Historic Tree Coalition. I'm sure you probably know about them they're based out of Dallas, but they're all over Texas. Yeah. And they're kind of the new kids on the block when it comes to tree registry and all that, but they're doing some amazing work. And I basically reached out to them and was like, hey, we need your help because they're going to bulldoze these 140 plus year old trees. A couple of post oaks, Quercus stellata, and they wanted to. That was part of the demolition that they were going to do. Was these big like 36-inch post oaks, and post oaks, they grow very slowly, and so 36-inch on a post oak, I estimate them to be between 140 and 160 years old, which is really cool. I mean, not cool because one of them actually fell over during Hurricane Beryl. And we were able to cut it up and count the rings, and we actually found that it was 144 years old. So that was really unique, to be able to register these as historic and then prove that they were historic on the back end. Even though on the front end we were able to collaborate that with some historical events that happened. There's like a historical. It was dedicated by the German Methodist, I think, in 1886. And so we did the math, and those trees were actually standing there. And we've actually got some photographs from the early 1900s too to prove it. But they were standing there when that cemetery was dedicated in 1886. And then we used that as kind of leverage to shut the project down temporarily. We didn't expect them to keep and preserve these trees long term. But it was just a small technique that we used. And so
it was for a biking path?
Yeah, they were going to put in biking paths. They were going to destroy these trees that you're looking at. These Montrose live oaks, or post oaks rather. The Houston Montrose post oaks. We actually nicknamed them the three sisters of Montrose, and there's kind of some sentimental things there. But it was really cool because you get all of these things happening, and Houston. I don't know if you know this, but Houston has some of the worst tree protection ordinances in the entire great state of Texas.
I believe it, man. I believe, that's probably the thing I have with San Antonio. I have a love-hate relationship with them.
Yeah. So they handed me the mic one day, and they're while we're there, and they're like, "Hey, give the mayor a toast." And I'm like, "I would have liked to have prepared, but let's go." This was a really cool event. So, so it's really cool as an arborist to be able to come in and have somewhat of an impact like that, because quite frankly, the mentality in Houston is bulldoze the old and replace it with new. And quite frankly, you can't replace the benefits that those trees provide.
Yeah, the historical value. I know right now. I'm trying to remember the numbers on this, but they were doing, and similarly, the second oldest park in San Antonio is called Brackenridge.
Mm-hmm.
It was donated by the Brackenridge family 100 years ago or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's part next to the San Antonio Zoo, and it has these huge ball cypresses and a bunch of live oak trees and pecan trees.
Mm-hmm.
But they're trying to remove part of. They wanted to cut 102 trees down. I want to say 60 of them were heritage over 2-foot diameter trees. Probably up in the 100 years. Some of them are hackberries, are probably not as valuable, but some of them are oaks, pecans.
Yeah, but canopy is canopy, and that hackberry may provide countless habitat.
Yeah, well, it's still fruit. It's still fruit and vegetation, and
it's fruit for years.
So they said that they weren't going to do it, or they said that they were approved and that they're going to do it, and they had like a city outlash about it, and there's a whole committee against it. And they ended up cutting it down from 65 to, I want to say, 50 heritage tree. We're going to say those 12, and we're going to kill only 50 now. And then this community went back on them, and I guess they were facing some kind of lawsuit.
Yeah.
And it went down now. I think last I checked, it's at 30 or 40 heritage trees that are going to cut down versus 70.
Right. So they cut it down cut down the cutting down.
Yeah, well, their argument was that they're doing it to restore a historic dam. It's no longer in use. That was made in the 1800s. And some of the people were arguing with some of these trees that probably outlived that historical dam, and they have historical value themselves because they're older than the dam was actually created. But I've also heard arguments about that the floodplain itself will eventually kill those trees anyway, or some of them.
Yeah.
But it's because I don't know how. I know how how Houston recycles their water, but we use like a replenished water resource called Edwards Aquifer. If it's like 1.4 to 1.7 million people, and the thing is that it's slowly going lower and lower. Eventually, the line's getting lower and lower. And a lot of the pecan trees. Supposedly, I've read that the plane here has dropped. Pecan trees that have access to the water source, that need the water source, have slowly started to die. If they're in the high plane because they can't reach the watershed anymore. But that being said, like you can't. It doesn't really equate to these trees were eventually going to die because of a flood.
Yeah, well, and I'm not God, and you're not God, and we don't know the future. We can speculate, but quite frankly, sometimes those 100-year floods that they say you got 100-year flood, 500-year flood. Sometimes it takes 1,000 years before that 100-year flood kicks in.
Yeah.
So, we don't know the future. Why would we mess with it? And if it happens, great, that happened, and it's detrimental. And nature, I call it course correcting. Nature has a great way. I think this is all God designed, pre-programmed on the genetic level. Like trees are built for survival, and so they're gonna. Go ahead.
It makes me think. When I did, this is a quick story. When I did I worked with the EPA and I did tree assessments in California for about a year and a half, almost 2 years. But we all had different takes on it, talking to other arborists because they're all from different places in the country. Philadelphia. One guy was from Missouri, another one was from New York.
I was from Texas.
So like, and I'm talking to one of them from Missouri, and he's like, yeah, they had madrone forest completely decimated.
Oh yeah,
Dead.
those madrones are
Trees
beautiful.
completely dead. And they're not going to come back. And I was like, man, like the madrone forest is completely gone.
Right.
And I thought very negative. And I remember talking to the guy from Missouri. He's like, you know what's going to happen is that these redwoods it's a returning back to the redwoods because the redwood. Yeah. And he's really right because like 90% of them were still alive. They could handle the fire. They're involved.
Redwoods have super thick bark that insulates it from the fires too.
All the trees are dead or dying, and they're completely have some green on the top. Like they're already bouncing back, and it's like.
What was is it? I think it's bristlecone pine that the actual pine cones require. Am I correct in that? It requires fire to open those bristlecone pines up.
It's like a whole other, and I've argued with people about it. That's a whole other misconception that like these fires are going to burn everything down. Like, no, the trees need the fire in order to fertilize generation of trees.
Yep.
Like it's part of the evolution. So it's like they actually need the fire to be present in their ecosystem to create that environment. It clears the underbrush to allow the sunlight to reach, and then that's what makes them activate the cones to become fertile.
Right.
Like so, you can't say, "Oh, we have to get rid of all fires." Like it's kind of ridiculous, right? Because you have the bear saying only you can prevent forest fires when some of the trees actually need them.
Yeah, no, that's very crazy, especially out west there. A little bit different here in Texas because and correct me if I'm wrong here, but that we don't have the same parameters. We don't have the same problems that they do out west.
Well, it's so crazy because like there you have mountains.
Yes.
And so if the fire goes up a mountain and you have to go that way and you have to go off the mountain, how are you you have to go around.
Yeah.
And like, it's dangerous out there. Like in Texas, there's some cliffs.
Sure.
But by and large, if I want to walk that way, for a few miles, I can walk that way. And in any direction, I can walk. In California, the mountains, you can't do that. I can't walk straight that way.
I grew up in Plano, Texas, and you know Spanish. Plano is flat is what it means. So it's flat here. We do have some mesas out in the west and a few mountains out west and things like that. And some rolling hills on the east and in central Texas. But yeah, there's no cliffs.
And I think that the plants here or the trees here are probably more drought tolerant. So there's probably less vegetation or less fuel to burn when we do have wildfires. Yep. And the thing about it is this naturalist, or he had a master's in botany or some kind of plant science. I'm not sure if it was botany, but he was telling me that back in the 40s or 50s, sometime in that time frame, California banned burning, like controlled burnings.
Yes.
And because all the fuel built up to where now when you do have a fire, it rages.
Yes.
Because a lot of it was, those fires were 5, 10, 15 feet tall. But when you have the foliage and the material build up, you're going to have a 40, 50-foot fire when it does actually run through the environment.
So what you're saying is Smokey the Bear messed everything up, y'all.
They should have never stopped controlled burnings. You know, the Native Americans that lived there actually did controlled burnings too. They understood the ecosystem better than we did. So I don't know. But that's what he was telling me all this. I was like, I don't really know this. It's with information. And the more I listened to him, the more it made sense because it's kind of like, that's how they shot themselves in the foot. And then you can see it too. Like this house would be completely burnt down. This house burnt down. And then this one not burnt. And you're like, what's separated? And then you can see that these people cleaned their trees. There was no fuel for the fire to burn.
Like underbrush is normal. You want to have 6 to 12 inches of organic layer in the forest. Like anything beyond that is just going to be like super heated kindling, and it's just
definitely. But you can see it too. Like the people that had, generally speaking, the people that have the money to trim their trees and to clean their brush out, they were the ones that had dwellings actually survive the fires. Not always, but like you could tell, like they maintained their landscape. These people did. It's expensive. You have 10 redwoods on your property. How much is it to trim those trees?
Yeah,
thousands dollars. Yeah, easy.
But what's the return on investment? You spend thousands, maybe every year,
exactly.
And you got $100,000 worth of trees. So it's cost benefit ratio. It really makes sense. And I see two primary problems in arboriculture, and one of them is under management, and one of them is actually over management.
Oh, yeah.
You get the lion's tail pruning, just like y'all do on the live oaks out in your turf. And they do them
Yeah.
with every tree in my turf. They do them with the water oaks, which are bad
Oh, yeah.
compartmentalizers.
People really think it's beautiful, and they ask, like, "Can you do
Mhm.
that to my trees?" And you have to explain, like, that's not good for the trees.
Can you
Trees-
clean my tree? You know, like, what do you want, a pressure washer? You want me to get out there with a scrubbing pad, like a scour pad or something, and like clean it?
Like,
No, you want to prune. You want to structurally prune the tree.
yeah.
You don't want to.
Like, it's like the thinning. I remember, what was his name? Skip Kincaid. The
Oh,
guy
yeah.
he just track, right?
Yep.
I remember I was talking to him,
Cool.
and he was like, there's no real way to trim the tree, you know,
Right.
like other than, like, I guess you're raising it to get rid of stuff. Like, there's no real reason to trim the tree. And I was like, well, what about crossing limbs? He's like, okay, crossing limbs, but there's no real reason besides that to trim a tree. Like, yeah, I guess that. I mean, but. And I was like, later on, I was like, well, you got, like, a bunch of like, some trees just have them, Bradford pear, trade myrtles, they have the V's.
Yeah.
I mean, and you can't, if you really tried, you could maybe cultivate it to not do that, but that's part of its growth behavior or growth profile or species profile. Whatever.
Want you?
Okay, baby, I'll be there a little bit longer.
Can I play?
Anyway, so, like,
I think Carly.
but yeah, no, definitely. Like, you couldn't. There's some tree species like the Bradford pear. You couldn't get rid of all the bees if you wanted to. In my opinion, if you did that, the tree would be unhealthy or sick or disease, something. Like,
Well,
it
let me
wouldn't
show you. Let me show you one this is a great example. It's a water oak, and I don't know if you have water oaks back in your turf, but
Yeah, some of them in South Texas, South Central region.
yeah, the main. Okay, so lions pruning. You know all about it, man. You know exactly where I'm going with this. So this is a prime example because there's a big limb on the top of this section right here. There's this limb right here, and there's this limb right here. All of these were pruned long time ago, 2 to 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And that essentially decay entered that on the top side of the limb. Now, on a deciduous tree like this, most of the holding strength of the wood is actually on the top side. And so once decay enters onto that top side, it greatly weakens the tree. And we had a couple little light baby storms here in Texas.
Yeah. I don't know if what kind of numbers you use, because I know they change them or they alter them a little bit. The general I was taught was that you never trim past 50% height of the tree.
Yeah.
Height to canopy ratio. And, like, not to, like, throw, like, San Antonio Zoo under the bus or anything. I think that's kind of what they did. And then you see it done a lot of the times, like they raise it and raise it and raise it. And the tape, not only is it you increasing the lever, but you also are increasing the strength of the taper for that limb.
Yeah, 2/3 is what you want. 2/3 of the above ground plant parts to be canopy.
I think it does. I mean, and obviously it does vary based on species, on maturity, on evergreens. Certain kinds of pines can handle it.
Right.
And it's interesting because, like, I'll give you an example. If you have a bunch of trees in a dense forest area, the forest is going to be even more than 50% height of the tree because it's looking for that sunlight. It's going to be having that tropism to push forward or push high. Versus, like, if you have something that's out in the open, it's going to be growing more like a bush because it has no competition for it.
Yeah, the forest-grown trees which grow up for sunlight versus the field-grown trees which grow out for sunlight.
And the tree itself will actually limit its foliage development to even less than 50% of the height of itself. But I mean that's I'm nitpicking that just because it is a potentiality. And people are like, well, what about this? Like, that's a general rule. But yeah, I've heard that. I've heard 2/3. I've heard 50. I usually tell people based on the minimal.
Yes.
Like, that's just you do 50 any more than that, then kind of like with construction damage. I was like, the most minimal thing I've read is 3 times the diameter of the tree away. You can damage or trench something. You
recognize these, right?
Oh yeah, Nancy.
Yeah. I'm pulling it up. Let's go by the book. Pruning. Where we at? Pruning standards, page 12. Aspect ratio. That's a good term. Man, we could just go on and on and on. So, and you're right. So I'll give you an example. As I had a buddy of mine, Jimmy Pritchard. I don't know if you know him or not, but he just won the Texas Tree Climbing Championship, and really cool dude. Just down to earth as can be, and he really understands his stuff. He really knows the trees and loves the trees and loves the people that he deals with. And he used to say he's got like a real heavy Southern accent. He said, bro, if tree guy, he's got the tree guy bro combined with the Texas accent. He said, bro, if the tree put it there, we got to have a better reason to take it off, bro, whatever. And man, it's so true. Is if the tree put it there, there was probably a reason for it. And trees, again, my theory at least, is trees are genetically programmed for success. So if it put it there, chances are there's a reason behind it. And so if like let's say for example you've got a limb over the house, well you might want that limb to be a little more structurally sound than the rest of the canopy because you just don't want your family to get crunched under a limb. I think that's fair. That's a pretty good reason. So you might want to reduce the weight on the end of it, which is going to reduce the leverage and it's going to reduce the wind throw factor because you're losing surface area of leaves that can blow around in the wind. But for the most part, you want to leave the tree alone. Now, young trees that are growing out in the middle of your front yard are going to grow different than they would in the forest. So it's absolutely true. We have to do a little bit of training, if you will. And I go off of scripture because I'm a Christ follower, but the Bible says in Proverbs said, train a child in the way that he should grow, that he should go. And in the end, he's never going to turn from it.
I taught a class on training, right? But definitely training is like it saves you a headache in the long run. It makes the tree more structurally sound. It's going to increase the longevity. Better
guide it along. But what we don't do is we don't butcher the tree.
Yeah, and then I have a big problem with that too with arborists. Like
so-called arborists.
I trim this oak every year.
Yeah,
it's like I don't. We trim it. I'm gonna have to go in a little bit.
Me too.
And 3 to 5 years to me is good for a live oak. If you trim it decent.
If you do a good job and you don't over prune and like gut the middle, doing that lion's tail pruning. By the way, lion's tail pruning, for those of y'all watching, lion's tail pruning essentially is where you take all the interior growth and you just scrape it out to the ends. So if you think of like the Dr. Seuss trees, the truffula trees or whatever, it's like you got a stick and then you got a little puff of grass or green tissue.
There's all sorts of reasons why you shouldn't do that, right? The taper, the form, the structure, but it also prevents it if that top does damage. There's nowhere to properly put it back to. You've already, scaffolding, potential scaffolding limbs down to the tree. Hey, real quick,
is Ed Gelman's Structure, an illustrated guide to pruning. And he talks about that. There's actually a section on here. What the problem, and it's like half a page of listed problems that happen whenever you lion's tail prune a tree.
There's tons of them. Prone for disease, prone for and like in that sense, decay. The picture you showed, prone for decay, disease, insect issues. Weaker. I would imagine weaker bark to begin with, so it makes it more likely to.
Yeah, you'll get decay that'll enter into the big
in this area, sun scald.
Sun scald, yep, yeah, because you're removing surface area of leaf.
Another one that people don't think about too is when it gets 100 degrees, interior of the canopy takes over the photosynthesis process. So if you don't have that, the tree can go into shock. So inadequacy to conduct photosynthesis would be one.
Absolutely. Here we go. Found it. All right. So this is I'll leave it here. So I'll just read this. So stripping out interior growth and low branches has many negative effects. A, dramatically reduces stored energy reserves because you're cutting away those woody tissue that stores all the energies that the leaves create. Eliminates laterals needed for restoration of storm damaged trees. So that's that future you don't have, basically. It reduces valuable photosynthetic capacity. So you're removing a large amount of leaf surface area. It changes the wind loading patterns and makes the tree top heavy. And so as the wind's whipping around, instead of transferring that energy to those interior limbs and it kind of wiggling out, it's directed right onto the limb, so it's way more likely to damage to fail structurally.
It's less
There's
balanced.
Yeah, it increases damage to limbs from windstorms, increases number of entry points for pests and disease and decay fungi, spoils tree architecture and appearance, sprouts occur in uncharacteristic positions. Many of y'all listening have seen where you've got a tree that's pruned and then a week later or a month later, it looks like you never pruned it at all and you just wasted all that money. You've got causes branches to over elongate and sag. I tell clients like anytime I make a pruning wound, that's going to stimulate growth elsewhere on the tree. If I prune in the middle, it's going to push growth to the outer edges. That's going to increase your leverage, by the way. It can lead to conditions that could kill the tree, can initiate cracks and decay in limbs, reduces damping and wind. That's that mass damping we were talking about, where the limbs in the middle kind of wiggle that energy out. It shifts growth to the branch ends, which increases leverage, increases ice storm damage, and it eliminates the opportunity to reduce limb length later. That's what you were talking about.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Especially
If they come in there and they say they're going to clean the tree or they're going to over prune the tree or clean all of the suckers out, like don't hire them.
the thinning really should be only crossing limbs.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
or
Just where you've got limbs that are rubbing.
dead diseased crossing limbs.
Yep. Dead disease. And I'll add to that too. If you have a tree that has previously been pruned in a lion's tail fashion or a toxic fashion, like it's okay to go ahead and reduce some of the leverage on the ends. You've got to restore that interior canopy. And again, if I prune somewhere, that's going to stimulate growth elsewhere. So if I prune on the outer edges of the limb and I take away, let's say, just 20%, 10% of the weight reduction on the end, or I even reduce the canopy height depending on the severity or the structural failure likelihood, is that's going to stimulate new epicormic sprouts in the middle. And those new epicormic sprouts can then become permanent limbs, which will recreate that interior canopy. And that's
You can also like when you do that, like say someone's already done it, say you inherit a property that's like that, you just postpone pruning it for many cycles. I mean, the tree will actually recover if it has enough vigor and vitality that
yes.
But yeah, I mean, and that's another thing. That's why it's so much better to prune a younger tree. If the tree's younger,
Train it to do it right, or
it can bounce back even quicker. Versus you trimming a very mature tree back to like, or doing a line talent on a very mature tree. You're gonna take decades for it to come back or to come back to the point that it was at. But for
we've had trees that took 5 to 10 years to recover after one bad pruning cycle.
Exactly.
That's
the more mature the tree is, the longer it's gonna take to recover. It's just like people,
Yes.
I was gonna ask you a question, like a closing question. Somebody asked me, if you had to pick it to be a tree, what tree would it be?
Quercus macrocarpa.
Really?
Big fruited oak, yes, sir. That's right. I really love bur oaks. A close second might be bald cypress. And their roots deep, and they are strong structurally. From a rooting standpoint, they will grow in the middle of a bayou and just under the worst, craziest conditions you can imagine, and they will thrive under those conditions. They've got some special adaptations. But Quercus macrocarpa, those bur oaks, oh my goodness, they're just so big and majestic. I had a friend of mine, he said they're just like a sidewalk in the sky. And man, they're so fun to climb. Sidewalk in the sky. Yeah, you just walk right around on them, as long as you don't fall and, slip and slide all throughout the tree. But yeah, we used to go out in the middle of the forest and we'd pick the biggest, baddest tree we could find and we'd go race to the top. And it was almost always a bur oak.
Wow. It's because of the height, right?
Yeah, they get 100 plus feet tall, give or take, depending on the conditions. They get about 40 to 60 or 40 to 80 foot wide, and they just have just such a cool canopy. I wish I had some pictures I could show you right off the bat, but we'd have lunch up there. We'd almost pitch a picnic type scenario and just sit down, and you get these big fat 2 foot diameter trunk, not trunks, but even limbs on some of these that are 100 plus years old. And And so they're just really great, majestic trees, and I love them, and they're beautiful. They add a lot of value from an aesthetic, from an ecological, from a property value standpoint, and they're great trees to have. The only issue is the name itself, Quercus macrocarpa. Fruit is carpa, macro is big, so you might not want to put it around your driveway or your sidewalk. But back in the back area, your backyard where nobody walks and goes in, they are just gorgeous, wonderful
I
trees to
like
have.
the way the leaves look on them too. Like the
Yeah.
way that
They're in the white oak family, so yeah, they've got those big
I
burly.
never really like the red oak leaves, like the pointy, like maple.
Yeah.
I've always liked the
Red
the,
oak is a great tree.
the white oaks. Like I've always liked all white oaks, like Monterey, sea oaks.
Monterey's are awesome trees, by the way.
Yeah,
There's
they
a
grow
lot of
real well.
success in your area with them, and mine.
I would say I like pecan. Pecan beets.
I was going to ask, and let's turn it around. What would you, if you had to be a tree,
A pecan, it would be a pecan.
pecan tree? I love
I
it.
think a lot of it is there's so many reasons. There's like the growth pattern of it,
Yeah.
the way it loves the rain, it loves moisture, the growth pattern, how it shoots up, but it also can shoot out. It doesn't like to lean. I guess
Right.
something I don't know if that's interesting, but I like that. Another thing about it is it's the state tree.
It is. Texas
State tree.
State, absolutely.
I would say I take pride in Texas. I also think one of the characteristics a lot of people don't like about it is it has a sudden limb drop.
Yes.
Now, but I actually associate. So what the tree pecan produces a bunch of pecans. It especially if it's gone through drought or something, it'll just put all its energy to producing the pecan, and then it will actually make its limbs brittle, and so it'll now shed its own limbs. And it's kind of like it puts so much. It actually hurts itself to produce its a generation, the next generation.
Yeah, we jokingly and lovingly refer to them as self-pruning. Because they'll compartmentalize really well, and those dead limbs or unalived limbs will drop right out of the tree.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean that and I like pecans in general. I like
they're awesome.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go.
Yep, I gotta take kiddo to swim lessons.
Okay.
Michael, it's great talking with you, man. You're a true professional in the industry, and
I love what you're doing, man. I love the podcast. Just keep it going, man. Maybe we'll talk to you in a month or something. Maybe
I'd love to have come back on and do another show like this that we're doing.
Maybe when our books come out, we can talk about, or something. I don't know.
Right on.
It works. Yeah, man. You take care of yourself. I hope to hear from you. I really appreciate. I watched some of your live feed on those podcasts. I know I saw some on LinkedIn. I see your stuff on all the time. Keep doing it, man. That's wonderful. I love the outreach, man. People need to learn.
Yeah, we do it. I love people. That's the heart God's given me, and it turns out it's good for trees, good for people.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I decided to write a book, because I would get tired of going to the person's property and telling them the same thing. It's like, dude, buy this book. It says everything that I'm about to tell you anyway.
That's exactly right. That's why I did the same. Was like, just put it down in a place that we can give it away or sell it or whatever we need to, and let's spread the good news, because trees. We need trees as humans.
I do think that, like, in terms of like heritage value, that they're the best thing. Like, I mean, so anything in the landscape, I can't think of anything more priceless than a valuable tree. To be a steward of it, to make sure that lives beyond.
And they're an appreciating asset. They get better with time. They only get better, and they increase the value and the benefits that they add to our lives. They're great assets to have. And
I also think of it as a great way to touch the future generations. Like,
yes,
what is it saying that, like, the mark of a great society is one where they plant. I think it was by the Greeks. There's a place where old men plant trees that they'll never sit under the shade of.
Yeah, somebody said wisdom is planting a tree that you'll never enjoy the fruits of. And I think that is responsibility. My son's over here just yelling at me, we got to go. But, I want to plant a future that what's up, Gabe? that is going to benefit them because it's not just about me. It's about, passing on the legacy of what we know. And so thanks for all you do, Michael. I love it. And yeah, we'll get on this and do this again another time.
Thank you. You take care.
Yes, sir. You too. And I'll shoot you the recording too, by the way, off the record.
Please. Thank you.
All right. We'll see you.
See you. All right.
Bye.